We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to VIP Welcome Week. My name is Audra Wells. I'm a counselor here at Santa Monica College. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Scholars Program. I do have a couple of colleagues with me today, whether their video is on or their video isn't on, but they are absolutely here helping me. Teresa Garcia is the program leader of the Scholars Program. She's going to talk in just a little bit, and we'll have an opportunity to introduce herself as well. And I also have my wonderful colleagues, Janet Robinson and Maria Bonin, helping me out today, just to make sure all of your questions get answered. And since we have such a short time to get a lot of really great information out to you. So welcome, everybody. To our virtual VIP Welcome Week. This is definitely a new experience for SMC. We obviously loved our in-person on-campus VIP Welcome Day, but this has worked out really well. I think access has been wonderful for students, and we've been able to actually get our voices out to a lot more students in this way. So thank you for being here today. I know a lot of you probably just went through Janet Robinson's Transfer 101 workshop, and in sitting through that one and seeing a lot of the questions, I want to make sure to weave a lot of that into this workshop as well, as we are a transfer program as well. We're just one of our many special programs at SMC, and we have a lot. It will not take you long in the fall semester to realize that we've got more special programs than any other college. We've got a program for everybody, if not more than one. And I'm here to highlight one particular special program that we have here, which is, of course, the Scholars Program. So before doing that, I wanted to introduce kind of our program so you know. One of the things that we do, that SMC does with our special programs, is housing our wonderful counseling department in those different special programs, so that we're working with our students in a smaller population. We get to really know our students, and gives our students a sense of community in our program. So our scholars counselors are listed there. Denise, Joanna, Julie, Terry, and myself. And we all work some of the similar days, but we've got our week covered with all of our counselors. And Teresa Garcia, our program leader, I had already introduced a moment ago, and she will as well. Alex Vargas really just runs our show. She's in our front office normally, and really is that first face that you see when you come into our office, and really helps keep us all together and moving smoothly. We also have a faculty leader that actually works out of our social sciences department, philosophy and political science instructor, Dr. Eric Oifer, who's absolutely amazing. And we have our location there and our phone number, and we will soon be back in our building. We are positive of that. So just to kind of move forward at this point is giving you a little background of what the Scholars Program. I did say that first and foremost, we are a transfer program. I think the biggest thing that differentiates us from general transfer counseling services is that Scholars Program houses a number of different transfer agreements, priority consideration agreements, with our four-year universities. And in order to take advantage of those particular contracts, a student does need to be in the Scholars Program. So that's really the biggest difference between the two. But our students are applying everywhere. We are transfer counselors first and foremost. I'm going to actually have Teresa Garcia actually talk a little bit about the history of the Scholars Program. Teresa was fortunate enough, and the Scholars Program has been fortunate enough to have Teresa for a number of years, and really understands the history and has seen it through really much of its journey to now, to talk to you a little bit more about the philosophy of the program. So I'm going to go ahead and hand that over to her now.
My mic on, and Audra, I guess yours is off now. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Everything good? Okay, good. So welcome today as well. And what I'd like to say before I get into the history of the Scholars Program is to let you know, I see a lot of the questions, and I'm kind of laughing because I see the chat box. It's really cute. I love the shout out to UCLA. but we will get to some of these questions within the program. So if you don't quite get a personal answer, just know that that's because we're probably going to hit on the answer to that question within this presentation. So that said, let me talk a little bit about the history of the Scholars Program. So Scholars started in 1985, and it was really an agreement between UCLA and Santa Monica College. And what was happening in the 80s is that the community college, Santa Monica College, understood that UCLA was looking to diversify and to sort of give a different look to their student body. And they saw that there was a lot of potential in doing that with the community colleges because transfer students were different. They weren't that traditional freshman student. A lot of them had life experiences, they were just different, a different student, and they really were appreciating what the community colleges had going on. So SMC, in their wisdom, and we had some incredible leadership at the time that realized all of this, SMC started up a conversation with UCLA. And basically, I think what we envisioned was probably a guaranteed admissions program. We envisioned something where students would come to Santa Monica College, sign an agreement here at the college, follow that agreement, and at the end of it, that they would be, if they followed everything and everything was in place, that they would get into UCLA. And many of you have heard of this sort of idea. We have tag agreements, and I know Janet does in the Transfer Center, does a lot of workshops on that, so that's something you'll want to look into later. But when we started the conversation with UCLA basically came back and said, I ain't going to do that. We're not doing a guaranteed admissions with SMC. And you know, one of the big reasons, I'm sure, is that if they did it with us, they'd have to do it with all the community colleges, and there's over 100 community colleges, and that could pretty much take up all of their slots for admission. So it's a dangerous place for them to go. But in their wisdom, they did see and felt that there was a lot of merit in hammering out an agreement with SMC, and so that they could really tap into these community college students. So that agreement started in 1985, and it was between SMC and UCLA, and basically it was called the Transfer Lines Program. It was not a guaranteed admissions program, it was a priority admissions program. And basically what UCLA said is if the students followed this agreement and followed this program, they wouldn't guarantee them admissions, but they would certainly give them a second look and have some other things go into play. And to that end, today we really do have a great transfer rate to UCLA, upwards of 80% in the Scholars Program. But truly, the emphasis of this program was to be on first generation, recent high school graduates, or non-traditional students who possibly didn't complete high school, older students starting college for the first time, students from underserved schools, things like that. Those were really the areas that UCLA was interested in. And so that was where Scholars really put its emphasis. And that's why we try to do things like this so much and really catch the freshmen and catch you as you're just starting your program at SMC. So, so just know, Audra, can you make the slides bigger? I just got a little text here. She's actually playing with the dog. Okay. Okay, so the Scholars Program, the important part of this is we have a long history with UCLA. Today there are over 40, almost 50 TAP programs at various community colleges throughout the state. SMC has the largest program, and that TAP program that we hammered out with UCLA actually was housed and was the start of the Scholars Program. So Scholars was actually developed to house this TAP agreement with UCLA, which we have done for many years, and is our sort of our bread and butter here, right? For this particular agreement and for transfer. Today, we really like to think, okay, sorry, reading a little text on the side here. Today, we really like to think of this program as a transfer program, although we do cater largely to UCLA and to the specifics of UCLA. a lot of those things carry over to other schools. And so students come into the Scholars Program now and they may want UCLA, but they may also want to apply to other schools. I would say some other very popular schools are Berkeley, USC, which we don't have agreements with. But certainly it's a transfer path, and this is what students are doing. Basically, the courses and the path that they're following really lends itself well to applying to a lot of different schools. So the Transfer Alliance program is a community, is a community of students who want to transfer to schools such as UCLA. So like I just said, you don't necessarily have to want to go to UCLA, but you have to fit into the program because this program was developed for obviously a specific student and a student that had specific sort of goals. It wasn't developed to kind of meet all the needs of all students, which I know is going to bum some of you out, and I'm sorry about that. So the priority consider admissions agreement, it's not a guaranteed, and it was actually developed with the College of Letters at UCLA. Now there are 7 colleges at UCLA that host undergraduates, so that have undergraduate majors. But we really only work with one of them, and that is the College of Letters. Now, luckily for us, the College of Letters hosts the most majors at UCLA, and I think something like 78% of the applications that go into UCLA in any given year are going into the College of Letters and into those majors. But just to make it clear, we have no priority admissions agreement and no agreement at all with the other colleges. And I'm just going to spell those out for you right now, which is the College of Engineering, which computer science is housed under, just for those of you to make sure you know. Nursing, we do not work with. Film, theater, and television, we do not work with. Public affairs, music, and arts, architecture, and design. So and the reason for that is because those schools, one, are much smaller than the College of Letters. They take in a much smaller class, far more competitive, and a lot of times you have to also show talent, right? You'll have to do a portfolio, or you'll have to audition, or things like that. So those schools have a lot of other criteria to their admissions process as well. So we started with UCLA, but certainly over the years we've had other agreements, and I'd say our second largest agreement is with Irvine, UC Irvine now. So we do host, we have a program with them, a priority admissions program. And then we also have it with some private schools, quite a few private schools. And we've put the link on here, and I think we might have it also available for you later, to the private schools that we also have agreements with. One of the most popular ones certainly in our area is LMU. So we do have an agreement with LMU. So a lot of different options, but we just want to let you know that the Transfer Alliance program is not a guaranteed admissions, and I can't say that enough because people always ask me that. It's priority consideration. So let me just really quickly go into what priority consideration means. It means that you're going to follow your scholars courses, you're going to do everything you need to do to transfer. We're going to help our students do that. You'll take your major prep, you'll do your general education, you'll have your units, you'll do everything that any other student will do to prepare. And then because of the scholars component, your application goes into UCLA. And if you're not admitted under your first major, or if you're not admitted because maybe the evaluator feels that you don't quite meet all the marks, you're never going to be denied if you're a TAP student, if you're certified through scholars on that first review. What it means is that evaluator will send that application on to a senior evaluator who will re-review it and look at other things and see if they can admit you under using other conditions. So think of TAP as a second look, okay? And in that second look helps us boost our numbers up to like 80%, 80 or higher percent in terms of our admissions rates for the scholars program. So hopefully that's clear, gives you a little bit of an idea and an understanding of scholars. So did I hit it all, Audra?
I think so, absolutely. You know, the only thing I would add is that last bullet there that we have, the Honors Transfer Council of California. It's a really great link. We have the link there, but we also have it on our scholars website under transfer agreements with other colleges. We are part of the Honors Transfer Council of California, and there are a number of private, kind of smaller liberal arts universities and colleges that we are part of, even outside of California. There's a number of them. Some of our students come in and, they're applying all over the place, and they're really interested in maybe Mills or Scripps or Pomona College or University of San Diego, all right, private college in San Diego, or University of San Francisco or Gonzaga, right, in Washington. And we've got similar agreements. They're not called TAP. They've got their own names with those colleges, but they're really similar in that it involves doing a certain number of scholarship courses while you're here at SMC. So if you end up finding that this program works for you and coming in our program, is talking to your scholars counselor about that. I just wanted to point out that that consortia that we're part of as well. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. I always love hearing Teresa talk about the history of scholars. She's really seen it through so many of the stages, and some of those main principles, they're still, after 35 years, still really the foundation of our program. But we have molded and shifted and changed as our students have molded and shifted and changed. And it's really amazing to kind of look at that history and really understanding the foundation of what this program is, I think is helpful in really giving this some thought as to whether or not this is a program that will fit into your transfer journey here at SMC. So one of the things, and I'm now so glad that we have this slide in here because there were a lot of questions about TAG, and I love that there were a lot of questions about TAG in the Transfer 101 workshop. So a lot of questions that I get, students in our program even have been here a year. I understand there are so many acronyms at SMC. There's even some identical acronyms that stand for two different things. So we do get that does get confusing. So feel free to continue to bring up these questions with your counselors. So the main difference between TAP and TAG, the number one difference that I want to really make clear in this workshop, is that the Transfer Admission Guarantee TAG program is not specific to scholars. This is a program, and an amazing one, I might add, that is available to any California community college transfer student, right? You're the number one transfer population priority for the UC campuses, and Cal States for that matter as well. So for that reason, we have great programs with our UC system, our Cal State system. We've got TAG programs that really, that work for private schools, for the CSUs, for the UCs. As we're sitting here talking about TAP specifically for the UC, right? We're going to talk about TAG for the UC. You don't need to be part of scholars to do that, but we are a transfer program. Our students absolutely are encouraged to get a TAG guaranteed admission contract completed for one UC campus the semester that they're ready to apply. And that does happen this month of September, during that fall semester that you're applying to the UCs. And there are 6 UC campuses that participate, okay, and that's out of the 9, right? So that's the majority of campuses have these agreements. And there are very few exceptions to these agreements in terms of the majors that don't participate, right, for those particular campuses. But the GPA really does range from these 6 campuses, but for the most part, 3.0 to 3.4 minimum GPA, depending on the UC campus, and having a very short list, small criteria completed by the time you're going into that fall semester that you're applying for the UCs. It is amazing. And as you know, there is nothing like this for high school freshmen going into the UCs, right? But to have this type of guaranteed admission, possibly to your first choice campus. You know, I get students whose first choice campus is Santa Cruz, maybe in their gaming program, right? Which is in their computer science school. That's pretty amazing to have a guaranteed admission to your first choice school, and even for a backup school. So we highly recommend our students do that. The Transfer Alliance program is the one Teresa was talking about. That is priority consideration for admission. She talked about what exactly that means. And it is not a guaranteed admission contract. And that is specifically with UCLA. Again, we do have a contract. It's just not called TAP, but very similar, if not identical, with UC Irvine. And then obviously other private schools as well, as part of our Honors Transfer Council, and also our contract with LMU. So talk to your scholars counselors about that should you have more information, and please talk about TAG with any counselor on campus. It's a wonderful program. Okay, so why do students join the scholars program? So some of our students we do know come into the Scholars Program specifically for the UCLA contract, right? They're not part of the TAG program, either is Berkeley, either is San Diego. We know that students are trying to put themselves in the best possible position for admission to these really impacted, popular campuses in terms of the numbers of applications that they get, right? We've got this contract. We know that students are coming into our program for this UCLA contract, but not all of our students are. There's some students who are not applying to UCs at all, or they're not applying to UCLA. Maybe UCLA doesn't even have their major, right? But maybe they are applying out of state. They're applying to some private schools, possibly applying to schools that we don't have any contracts with, but just want to be part of a program that is going to prepare them for what's to come at the university level, and really prepare them to do well in the courses they're doing here at SMC as well, which is really infusing that critical thinking, that analytical thinking in the way that the course is taught and how you're being tested in your courses. They want exposure to research. They want more rigorous reading and writing expectations in the class, right? They want to be pushed. They want to be challenged. They want to prepare for their future studies. And of course, the program did have that foundation of really preparing a student for a research institution. But I always say any university, right, in which you're going to need these skills and really work on these skills and have an environment like Santa Monica College to really work on that each semester that you're here. Our classes are taught by amazing faculty. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of the program. We've got amazing faculty that go above and beyond for their students inside the classroom, outside the classroom, and they're in an environment with 25 students or less that allows them to teach the course in that way and incorporate the components that they do into these classes and work with our students in smaller groups. The program also offers specialized services. Our students have access to UCLA library privileges. They get priority enrollment, their first full semester in the program, as do our other special programs. We have counselors designated to you all in the Scholars Program. As you know, we have our own workshops that are specific to our program. So it's pretty wonderful. And students also have an opportunity to engage with other goal-oriented students. And I hear about that a lot from the students in terms of the energy, the makeup in a classroom, right? As students that are serious about their transfer goals and are really engaged in class, and they really love that. I think that that's a bit infectious in a classroom. Okay, so how to apply to the program, and I'm kind of looking at the time here. I think we're doing good. How to apply to the program. Our very next application filing period is for winter and spring 2021. Okay, our fall 2020 application filing period had ended early on in July. So for students coming into the program or interested in coming into the program, especially if you're a new student, this gives you a wonderful opportunity to come in and be in the program for the amount of time that you need to, especially if you're trying to complete one of those contracts. So that application opens up on October 15th. In the content portion of this workshop, you will see a few different links. I actually gave you the direct link to our application requirements and our actual application instructions. So you don't have to dig for it on the Scholars website. But if you do go to just main Scholars website, you just click on application procedures, that will get you to the requirements. You'll also see that there's no link to actually apply. That button will show up on October 15th. Just to kind of go through admission requirements. Freshman eligibility, this is really catering to the student who is applying usually while they're still in high school for that very first fall semester. Okay, so you have less than 12 units completed at a college and you're applying under high school requirements. So I just wanted you to know that, even though some of those students may not be in here, although we probably do have some prospective students in here as well. You need a minimum of 3.0 GPA in high school. And of course, that's at the time that you're applying. It may not include your last semester. Must be eligible to take English 1 at SMC. Now, we don't have actual assessment tests anymore, but we do have guided self-placement. So it is based on your guided self-placement score of being eligible for English 1 at Santa Monica College. And some of our students do take either of the AP English exams. So a score of 3 or higher not only makes you eligible for the program, but you've actually even completed the equivalent of English 1 and are waived into English 2. And you'll talk to your counselor if you're in a situation like that. But I also want to let you know that that was another way of meeting that requirement, or possibly you took first freshman composition course at a college while you were in high school. That would obviously meet the requirement as well. But you just need eligibility to take English 1. You don't have to have English 1 done. To come in as a continuing returning student, so let's talk about the students who I think are the majority of those of you who are listening in right now, is that you're starting SMC on Monday. You're going to be applying as early as October 15th. So you're a continuing SMC student. So if you're projecting to have 12 units completed by the end of fall semester, then you can apply as early as October 15th, even before those grades are posted. You can use a grade check form, and instructions on our website are listed very clearly on how to go about doing that. We're trying to put up as few roadblocks as possible, especially during this remote time during COVID, of some of the exceptions that we're making in that regard. So make sure you look over those instructions really clearly. So we will look at 12 units, even if they are non-transferable. We're going to look at what is in the best interest of the student on bringing you into the program as early as possible. But that's 12 units by the end of fall semester. A 3.0 projected or already completed with 12 units. And must be eligible for English 1. Same requirement, same AP English exam information there. Now, if a student possibly is going to be part-time or 3/4 time, maybe you didn't take any summer units, but you're not going to be taking 12 units in the fall. We don't want to wait. We want you to wait an entire year at SMC before coming in our programs, because that really gets in the way of the transfer timeline and being able to take advantage of some of our contracts. But if you're going to be falling a little bit below 12, just go ahead and attach to the application your high school transcript as well. And we will look at both in evaluating you for admission, which is really great. Yes, so that's what I wanted to say on that. I'm sorry. I always want to go on and on about some things, but I just definitely want to keep you on the basics here and give you some options to get more information should you need it. So TAP requirements. We talked to you about the TAP agreement. Teresa did go into the TAP agreement. We know that that's the Transfer Alliance program that was set up with UCLA. What are the requirements for that, other than being in the program, right? We ask that our students are in the program for a minimum of 2 semesters in order to complete the second bullet point, which is 15 units of scholars courses. We say about 5 courses, but you know, some courses are not 3 units, they're more. So some students may finish that requirement with 4 classes. But in saying that, we want students to understand that if you happen to be planning on a 2-year transfer full-time, okay, meaning your life is going to allow you, right, to be a full-time student each semester to transfer in 2 years, your major is going to allow you to complete what you need to in 2 years, and there's not going to be those bumps in the road, right? A lot of our students do take a longer timeline to transfer for so many different reasons. You'll talk to your counselors about that. A lot of questions in the last session on that. So I know you guys were talking about 1-year transfer, 3-year transfer, right? When do I apply? But to use the example of a 2-year transfer student coming into SMC for the first time this fall, is that you're looking to be at a UC or at your transfer institution in fall 2022, meaning you're going to be applying next fall 2021. It comes around really quick, and only half of your coursework is even done at that point, right? If that's the case, you want to give yourself 2 full semesters to do those units. So if you haven't come into the Scholars Program for your very first semester, and many of our students don't, they come in while they're continuing, and you come in for winter and spring 2021, you'll have spring and you'll have fall to complete those requirements, which is amazing. But if you don't come into our program until next fall and you're also applying for transfer, so that's when we can't meet your needs. And this is absolutely a 2-way street. It's not, what do you need to get into our program? That's one tiny little piece. The other is, are we going to be able to give you what you need? Are we going to be able to assist you in your transfer plan, depending on what it is that you're coming into the Scholars Program for? So that would be too late. So we definitely want you in the program by winter, spring 2021. That allows the 2-year transfer students starting right now, if that makes sense. I talk a lot about the timeline in more depth in our hour-long information sessions that we do throughout the semester, and those are listed on our website as well. But that's just to give you a snapshot of that. And if you're applying to other universities and you are not going to apply to UCLA, you're not interested in TAP, maybe you're applying to a major that TAP doesn't work for at UCLA, those majors that Teresa was talking about, how do I just maintain my status in the scholars program. So what we ask that a student maintains a 3.0 GPA, transferable GPA, that they take at least one scholars course per semester. Some of our students do two. And again, it depends on, how much time they've given themselves to complete the requirement, but at least one to maintain your status in the program. So that's a course you're already taking. These aren't extra classes. 15 units isn't extra. So if you need 60 units to transfer, 15 of those units will be scholars sections of the courses you're doing anyway, either for your major, for general education. It's courses you need anyway, right? We don't want to keep you here longer doing something that you don't need. This fits really well into your existing transfer plan. And that you meet with a scholars counselor at least once per semester. And that's in your best interest. Whether you come into scholars or you don't come into scholars, I cannot stress that enough, is meeting with one of our counselors every single semester to go over your requirements, make sure that you're keeping all of your schools in mind, that you're utilizing your time, your money, your energy efficiently. We can help you with that puzzle, because I know it can get really, really confusing, especially as you're applying to a lot of different colleges. Our students apply everywhere, so we just gave you some notes there. We love getting our transfer stories every spring when our students leave. And completing scholars courses, it demonstrates a lot to your transfer schools. So even if you're not completing the contract, you're always going to put on your transfer applications that you're part of the scholars program. These are the courses I did as scholars. It shows that a student went above and beyond, right? You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to take courses that are a little more rigorous in the reading and writing, right? You did that, and it looks really good to a transfer school that you've challenged yourself academically. So that's just another piece, I think, for students that ask, hey, I only want to go to USC, or I'm only going to these colleges, and you don't have contracts with them. Will this program help for me? So I think that that's helpful. And okay, so I think I'm good. The last couple points here, things to consider this fall. I get these questions a lot from students, right? If you're not in our scholars program this fall and you're going to be applying for winter and spring, do not wait on anything to come into our program. We have amazing counselors across campus and other special programs in our general transfer counseling center. Don't wait on your educational planning, right? All of our counselors know about the scholars program, that we know about all of our special programs, so you can talk to anybody about scholars. But until you come to see us, make sure that you're meeting with a counselor. And I just left a very general website because it's easy to remember, smc.edu/counseling. This website has been particularly helpful in this time of remote service, particularly for me as well, as how is every program making appointments for students during this time, right? Because you can't just walk into their door. So this is really helpful to get you to the right program, or to general transfer counseling, to first year students, welcome center, and things like that. So that's one thing I want to say, is continue with your counseling. We work really well with our department at large and take lots of notes in our systems. So no matter where you're at on campus, we know what you've been doing with our colleagues in other programs, and we work together on your behalf. We absolutely work together, and it's great to have more heads in the game for you. So it only helps you. Our scholars application, like I said, opens up on October 15th. I gave the regular website there, but just click on application procedures. And if you need more information about scholars, I go into a little bit more detail about the contract with UCLA. We talk a little bit more about majors. It gives me an hour to really talk to you guys. We do have fall information sessions, and on our website, if you guys click on web workshops and then go to information session, you'll see them listed with the Zoom links. Should you need more information, and should you want to be part of a smaller group where we kind of do a lot more talking back and forth and answering questions, you've got me for 1 hour. So those are really great as well. And I think that is the end of this particular presentation. I would like to kind of go out of this screen share, look at some of the questions coming in, even though I've got wonderful colleagues answering a lot of the questions coming in. I know this is generating a lot of questions. It generates a lot in an info session, and there might only be 30 students or 20 students or 10 students in those. So I know that we've probably got a lot of questions coming in, but write them down before you meet with a counselor. You'll kind of forget in that 30 minutes what it was you were confused about. Write down those questions, bring them, to your counseling appointments, is the best advice I can give you. at this point before you've started classes. Teresa, if there's any questions you wanted me to kind of announce to everybody, or Janet, if you're seeing some things, or Maria, if you're seeing some things that you think I may have missed and I should probably say at large, let me know.
Let me go on and just say I have been watching the chat. Let me just clarify for majors a little bit, because I know that's always super confusing. Scholars was really developed to work well with humanities, social and behavioral sciences majors, majors in the sciences, but not engineering and not nursing. Those programs are so specific, and we don't really have the resources, nor do we have any contracts with anybody for those. So we don't offer the classes that are specific to those majors. We're just not a good fit for that. But what I do want to say is, let me just list off some majors that are super popular in scholars, and this might hit a good number of you. Psychology, I got a gajillion psychology majors in this program, and we do cater to that. Econ, biz econ, we have English, we have sociology, gender studies, we have math majors, we have biological sciences majors, physics, chemistry, what am I missing here? Political science. You get the idea. We have history majors, tons of history majors. So again, if you really want to see the majors that we cater to nicely, what I would suggest is that you go onto UCLA's College of Letters and take a look at those majors, because that's going to really show you. Now, I will say there is a caveat to all of this. There is one major in the College of Letters that we do not work for, and that's Comm Studies, the Communication Studies major. However, we do have quite a few Communication Studies majors in this program, because we also prepare them for an alternate major, so that they'll have a second chance to get into UCLA if they don't get in on the first go. So to answer some of these questions, and it's really difficult, when a student submits an application, we really look at it to see if we can be a good fit for the student. And a lot of times I'll get engineering students who all they're taking is their engineering classes. That's not a good fit for us. So that's a student who really isn't necessarily, they're not going to benefit from this program. We're actually going to hinder them a bit, because if they're going to try to take all these scholars classes on top of their engineering classes, well, we're not doing them any justice. Plus, we're not going to certify them, right? We have no agreement with that. So I just want to be clear that we do have this, we're kind of nuanced in that. Now, we talk a lot about UCLA here, but there are, of course, the other schools that we contract with. And you know, what Audra was talking about too is we encourage our students not to just apply to UCLA or to any of our contract schools. You know, a lot of our students will apply to USC, they'll apply to Berkeley, but we're preparing them for everything if they're within those majors, right? So I hope that clears up some of the confusion. Honestly, I wish that we could be scholars for everybody at SMC. I think this is an amazing experience, but we just don't have the resources or the ability to do all of that, right? We're a program of about 1,200. So people come in and they'll say, well, I'm engineering and I want to be in there. And I'm like, we can't do that. Okay. So I just want to make sure, I'm always the bad guy here. I just want to make sure you understand that. All right.
Yeah, that's perfect. And, you know, and Teresa kind of jogged my memory on a couple things as well. And thank you for talking about alternate major. That's huge to have a second choice major. You know, normally you don't really get that box as a general transfer student to UCLA. A lot of it other UCs, but not UCLA and not Berkeley. But TAP does give that student a second choice major. And a lot of our students, most of us have more than one major that would make us happy during our undergraduate experience, and one that really complements the first one. And sometimes it's not even like their primary major, right? They just would be happy with both. They want to be considered for an alternate should they not get into their first major. Sometimes we don't even TAP certify for their first major, but we will for their second. So there's all these different strategies, right? But one of the things that kind of came up as Teresa was talking was probably how overwhelming you probably are in hearing in all of these workshops, your major. And here you are, just graduated high school, right? Like I'm exploring, and this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to take a few different classes and kind of figure it out. You absolutely have that time to do that. I know that some of our transfer schools kind of put that pressure on students, I believe too prematurely, to not really do that exploration stage justice. But I can't stress enough any of the workshops you could do with our Career Services Center. I know that they've done a really great job with our areas of interest presentations and all of the ways in which you can do that exploration and figure out your major and meet with their counselors. They're specialized career counselors. That is an amazing service that is free to you here at SMC. Very expensive out in the community to see a career counselor for the services that they provide. But one of the main things that they do is working with our undecided students. I think it's more common than not to be what we call undecided. You kind of should be undecided, right? You know where your interest areas are, but how do you connect the dots between your interest and your major? And then how do you connect the dots between your major and career? Understanding kind of that whole picture will definitely help you with approaching what a major is and what a major is not. And sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions about that. And a lot of my discussions with students in the beginning is really talking about those interests and really talking about your non-negotiables, right? I need to stay here. I need to be near my family, or I need to get far away from my family, right? Or I need to be a part-time student while I do this, this, and this. Or I really want to go to this school, so I need to find a major at that school because the school is more important than the major, or vice versa. So kind of figuring out what motivates you, why you're here, what excites you, what keeps you going, what keeps you getting into the classroom is really, really important to us as counselors. So those are the types of discussions that I really encourage you having earlier on than later so that you can kind of narrow down the vast amount of majors that are out there.
So I just want to say that we are getting close to our end time here. And I know there's a million questions. There always are. I can't even tell you, I think what we try to do in this presentation is maybe bring up more questions than we answer. I don't know. But if we did that, which I'm sure we did as I'm looking at the chat room, I would really encourage you to attend one of the info sessions. I can't say that enough. Audra does them. I will be there for a lot of them with her this time because we're on this new medium. So, you can really find out whether this is a program that's appropriate or not appropriate or going to work or not going to work. Because, I want students in here who this is really going to be good for everybody, right? And I never want this program to be something that kind of holds you back or, you think, oh my God, I have to take more classes. No. So we'll really help you figure that out in the info sessions. So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I'm just answering some questions, and I think once we stop the recording, I can continue to answer some of these, probably. I don't know. I believe we can. This is our first time with it, so we so appreciate your guys' patience with the process. But we're going to go ahead and end this session, stop the recording, and answer as many questions in the chat as we possibly can. But so many of these questions are exactly what I love hearing in a counseling session. This is what you're bringing to your counselor, and I mean any counselor on campus, not just a scholars counselor. And there's also ways to get general questions answered through our office on our website as well without seeing a scholars counselor. So thank you so much for joining, everybody. Teresa, you were just going to say something?
I was just going to say this is recorded. I think you've already said that, and it's going to be posted somewhere. So there was a lot of there were a lot of questions about that I saw because I think people came in a little bit late or whatever. So this recording will be posted for you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I think.
Thank you, everyone. Best of luck.
Bye, everybody.
It's not recording. I don't know if Janet and Marie